Erik Jones wins for the King. Carnage ensues at Darlington, and Kevin Harvick goes off on the new car. And for the 14% of fans that hate the finger point, I apologize, but it's coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. Man, where do we begin? A non-playoff driver wins. Erik Jones wins for the first time since 2019. Win number 200 for the 43 car. Richard Petty is back in victory lane. He beat the team that he used to race for in Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing finishing second to Erik Jones, the guy they got rid of. Just storyline after storyline after storyline for this race. First time in 8 years that the 43 car has won, and the first time in 55 years that the 43 car has won at Darlington. So just pick your storyline, but at the end of the day, this is just a great thing for NASCAR. The win, in some ways, kind of overshadowed the playoffs in that moment, just for a brief split second before we come back down to reality the next day and then look at everything that went on with this, the playoff drama and all that. But without a doubt, this is a very popular win, unless you're just somehow anti-43 or anti-Richard Petty, which I don't think very many people are. But on top of that, it's been a special couple of weeks because the number 3 car won last week and the number 43 car won this week. So it's a good day for people who really appreciate the history of the sport and things like that. Those are two very iconic numbers, 7 championships apiece. And well, if the trend continues, does the 48 win this week? But a lot of storylines. Great win for Erik Jones. Just, I don't know what to say about it. Of course, I'm a Richard Petty fan, have been for a long time. The Petty GMS revival of that number 43 and the 42, I think they're going in the right direction. So this is a great win for them. A smaller team, but they're showing now that they can compete. So I think it's a great win, and it's positive for the sport. That being said, what really a lot of people will also remember this race for, other than the 43 winning, is the absolute carnage. Kyle Busch leading the race, led the most laps, 150-something laps. His engine blows. Martin Truex has some type of engine failure as well, some type of mechanical failure as well. He looked like he had a long-run car that could have contended with Kyle Busch for the win. Just several things like that, several other cars. Kevin Harvick looked like he had a top 5 car. His car randomly catches on fire. He had a lot to say about that as well. I'll get to that in just a minute. But just a lot of what happened here will be remembered as this car coming to Darlington for the second time, and teams in the playoffs probably pushing it to the nth degree. And this car did not hold up at Darlington like it did possibly the first time around. So as these parts maybe get some wear and tear on them, some of these parts not as new as they were the first time they come to Darlington. Darlington ate these cars alive. There's just no other way to look at it or talk about it. That being said, it was great that we got the 17th different winner of the season. Really cool storyline there. But going forward, these teams are going to have to figure out something to make these cars tougher, because Darlington, the track too tough to tame, the lady in black, absolutely ate up this next-gen car. All right, now on to good race, bad race. Let's look at the top 10. Good race, of course, for Erik Jones. Win number 4 for him on his career. Denny Hamlin, second place, the highest finishing of the playoff drivers. Tyler Reddick had a really good day, ends up in 3rd place. Joey Logano finished 4th. Good day overall, but that bad pit stop put him back in traffic. He had the fastest car, possibly, and he was running really good lap times at the end. Possibly, if it wasn't for that pit stop, he would have had something to say about this win. Christopher Bell, really fast car. A little bit of controversy in there when he got into the 99 of Daniel Suarez. If Suarez gets knocked out of the playoffs, that could be something to watch, because Suarez said he was going to get him back at some point. Michael Mcdowell finishes 6th. Michael McDowell continues his best season ever, and he stays red hot recently. Brad Keselowski with a good finish, 7th place finish for the number 6 RFK Ford. William Byron finishes 8th. He looked strong early on, but he had some type of engine trouble that also plagued other Hendrick drivers like Kyle Larson. Bubba Wallace finishes 9th in the 45, running, of course, for the owner's points, so a good owner's points finish for him. Alex Bowman finishes 10th, and Eric Almirola is 11th, and Kyle Larson salvages the day with a 12th place finish after those weird mechanical or electrical engine issues. So those were your guys who had a good day, and even within those drivers that had good days, you saw that it was guys that had good days, but it wasn't really the greatest day they could have had because, like I said earlier, this track ate up a lot of race cars. So let's look at some of the race cars that didn't get lucky with their mishaps at Darlington. Chase Briscoe finishes 27th. Of course, he was caught up in the Chase Elliott wreck. Kind of ruined his day. Martin Truex and Kyle Busch 30 and 31st. Of course, I already said earlier that they had engine problems, mechanical failures for the Joe Gibbs Racing duo, but they led most of the laps, looked like the two cars to beat in the middle of that run. 33rd finisher is Kevin Harvick, and Chase Elliott finishes dead last, 36. That is really going to eat into his points lead. Of course, I mentioned Kevin Harvick finished 33rd there. And after his car randomly just combusted and caught on fire, he had some very strong words for NASCAR. I'm sure you've seen it. He said to the effect, these crappy parts are not worth anything. So I can't exactly repeat exactly what he said, of course, but you guys know what he said. And to me, when he said that, it was a sign of frustration from a driver. You got to remember, early on in the process of making this car, Kevin Harvick was one of the first guys who was concerned about the safety, and this is before this car even made a lap on the track. He has continued to voice concern over safety, and it looks like these were the words of absolute frustration of a guy who feels like he is not being listened to by NASCAR. Of course, I made the video last week talking about safety, and I got to just reiterate it because it looks like he is just at his wit's end. If you saw the emotion from his voice, he looked like he was just at absolute wit's end, and that's why he was just completely bashing this new car. And even a guy who's pretty quiet. If you look on Twitter, Rodney Childers even went to Twitter and started bashing the car himself. So a lot of frustration from drivers and crew chiefs about this new car, that they don't feel that it's safe. They don't feel that the parts are up to the standard that the previous parts for the cars were. It just looks like this car has a lot of room for improvement. And I mean, they definitely need crumple zones, right? We know for sure they need crumple zones. But there's also, we've seen 2 or 3 fires that randomly started. Chris Buescher and now Kevin Harvick. So a lot of things need to be addressed on this car in the offseason. And hopefully NASCAR will listen. NASCAR did release an article on their webpage addressing the safety concerns, so at least it is now on NASCAR's radar, because I feel like they've gotten so much PR, and once the PR goes negative, that's usually when NASCAR makes a move. So hopefully, now that the PR is going negative on the new car, they will make a move to make it safer. All right, and real quick, before we go, I mentioned Chase Elliott lost a lot of points. Here is a look at the playoff cutoff line. You see Kevin Harvick minus 13, Chase Briscoe minus 10, Austin Dillon minus 4, Austin Cindric minus 2. Last man in, as it stands right now, is Daniel Suarez at plus 2, Kyle Busch plus 8, Alex Bowman plus 10, and Chase Elliott goes from winning to only plus 14 above the cutoff line. Joey Logano, of course, is your points leader. All right, so that's a look at where the playoffs stand right now. Probably a longer video than I wanted to make, but a lot of stuff happened, so that's all I got for you today. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe down below. It helps out the channel a whole lot, and I really appreciate it. And all of you who are already subscribed, I really appreciate you too. You guys mean more to me than you will ever know. And if you got a comment or question, leave it down in the comment section. I get to as many of these as I can. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.